Hey, welcome into the Snap episode 207. Today we are getting into some Superflex mock draft strategies and finishing off the video here or podcast, however you are tuning into the show, with a 12-team Superflex mock draft. I've got my boy Lando, and I've also got my boy from across the coast, Big Travy from the Fantasy Whisperers, with us tonight. Honorary member of the show. How you doing, buddy? It's been a while since we've chatted.
Oh, I'm doing great, man. We're in that kind of mode of like I had to do like a look in the mirror tonight because I could tell it's fantasy football season. You know, we're officially there. If we're hosting a mock draft marathon, 24 hours of mock drafting this Saturday and Sunday.
That's right.
I just got off a mock draft show last night, and you guys are like, "Hey, do you want to do a mock draft show?" I'm like, "Fuck it, let's go! Like, let's do it! Like, we gotta go." So that's how you know you're a little bit of a sicko. But yeah, I'm excited to get into it. And Superflex, you know, just a point is like it's taking over, and it should, right? Because of the depth of the position at quarterback and the ability that we can really establish true value in a draft with Superflex. So I'm excited to get into this tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I can't wait. Hopefully everyone tunes in, likes this video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below what strategies you like the best. And if you're mid-draft in a Superflex draft, comment down below as well, because we answer every single question in the comments. We can help you through that draft. We'll get to it, but either way, Big Travy, make sure to follow him, Big Travy, TFW or TF Whispers on Twitter. These guys are great follows, great guys, and I can't wait to get into it.
Nice plug, Lando. Good job.
Yeah,
the mock draft marathon is a must watch whenever you can. I mean, it's I'll be on 5 a.m.
I think that's correct. 5 a.m. Eastern, right? Is that what we got you?
Yeah, you'll be burning the midnight oil.
Yeah, I'll be. That's not my break. We decided to actually give ourselves breaks, the three of us, this year. So I don't think my break is during that time. I'll have to double check. But yeah, we're sad to miss Lando this year. Usually we get both of you every year. And you know, I like to think of you guys as like our brother channel. Right. You guys are just like so good. And you guys have been so good since the beginning. And it's just been an honor to be working aside you here. And yeah, the mock draft marathon's a lot of fun. So make sure you follow us on YouTube, hit that subscribe, turn the notifications on. And as like Max said, whenever you can, because it's 24 hours. So you just like in here and there, and we're going to have so many big hitters this year that we're proud of. Like, you know, Matt Harmon's going to be joining us, Sigmund Bloom, just some of the greats in the industry that we're excited about. So it should be a great time.
We are drafting right beside Matt Harmon and Scott Fishbowl.
Oh, nice.
But he didn't join the group chat, unfortunately. You have to give him a slap on the wrist for that one.
You should, well, I'll tell you off air how to get a hold of it. But yeah, we had to backdoor it.
For sure. Lando, can you do me a quick favor and just check that your mic is being fed in from the Yeti?
You got it. Let me get it.
Beautiful. All right, I'm going to introduce what we're talking about for the first, 15 to 20 minutes here before we get into the mock draft. And the mock draft is full. There was a link in the episode description here. You missed out. If you missed it, you missed it. Join the Discord. It's a good way to get into these types of things, or you just got to have eagle eyes for when this thing posts. But we're going to talk about 3 draft strategies that are becoming fairly prevalent in Superflex drafts. Now, Superflex format is essentially having the ability to start 2 quarterbacks per week. It is the ability, not the necessary play, but it is advantageous to do so. And so we're going to sort of talk about some strategies as this kind of format becomes, let's just say, the new normal. I think we made that transition from standard leagues to PPR leagues. I think we're going to see one quarterback graduate into Superflex in the next couple of years as like the new normal.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. I just think that it's just a new. I mean, we are kind of creatures of change in fantasy football. We are always looking for the next thing, and that's X amount of players. You want your sleeper, scoring. You want that edge. You want a different rule to try and gain an advantage. But I think Superflex is just such a beautiful structure, like we were talking about a little bit at the top, to really allow you to draft other players. Really, it's not really about the cute quarterbacks for me. It's about where once the quarterbacks are gone, the draft resets, and then we can draft the guys that matter. I think John Daigle called it like the QB avalanche in Superflex. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out tonight. But yeah, excited to hop into some of these strategies.
Coming in off Twitch, Golden Dude 70, thoughts on Christian Kirk this year, real quick.
I am warming on Christian Kirk quite a bit. I know it got really fun to make fun of Christian Kirk and the signing and the Jaguars and what happened because of the contract. But I said this, I think, on last night's mock. Sometimes when you're that bad of a team, you have to sign contracts like that to get guys on your team. And they just got rid of Urban Meyer, which was like a donkey show out there in Jacksonville. And they had to do something. And they go and get Christian Kirk, who, albeit health aside, has kind of been inconsistent or has been consistent health aside. So, and he had his best year. And I think if you look at Doug Peterson's offense, they've been pass happy, in his 10 years. The big thing will be his role in the slot. But if you look at, Trevor Lawrence's ability and his propensity to throw to the intermediate area of the field, that could really benefit Christian Kirk in his offense.
I think so as well. All right, strategy number 1. We're talking about the early quarterback take. Now, in Superflex, this is my preferred strategy. I am all in on QB. Did it in Scott Fishbowl. We'll try to do so tonight, even though I have a later pick. I think I'm like 10 or 11 in tonight's draft. But I prefer to go early quarterback. And look, in a Superflex league, because you can start 2 quarterbacks, they are the most important position. And it's your job as a manager, as a drafter, to try to figure out, when am I going to take these guys? How am I going to prioritize them in my drafting? And so for this strategy, you want to do so right away. Now, quarterbacks that we're going to try to target, this is sort of a star-studded, what you would expect kind of list. But these are the guys that I like to try to target. And if I'm going to go early quarterback, I might want to go quarterback to start my drafts and try to grab 2 of these guys. Now, it's going to be really hard to get a Josh Allen and a Patrick Mahomes. Impossible unless you're doing auction, but it might be possible to get a Lamar Jackson and a Jalen Hurts, a Lamar Jackson and a Russell Wilson. If you're in that sort of sweet spot, 5 to 6, you might get the early turn coming back.
Yeah, really good. I like this list, Mac, a lot. We drafted Matt Stafford in our Scott Fishbowl League, and it really does depend on scoring settings as well. A lot of these guys, a similarity is that they have these rushing capabilities. They all rush for just about 300 yards each one, or just over 300 yards. A guy like Jalen Hurts, he's going to be great. He doesn't need to be a great quarterback to produce fantasy points. Kyler Murray, he does a ton with his legs. Even without a DeAndre Hopkins for the first 6 games, he's going to be a great quarterback to target. Always will. Lamar Jackson might not sign a contract, but he's going to be an elite fantasy option despite losing Hollywood Brown. So really good list here, Mac. Travy, is there anyone missing from this list of the elite quarterbacks that you want to target early?
I was trying to think about it, but I think this is the right cutoff. This is the list of the guys I'm willing to go early on. You could make a case for Brady, especially in Superflex. You could make a case. But again, these statues are hard to invest earlier than like maybe your second quarterback on because of the lack of rushing upside. I did just want to make a note on guys like Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, and Lamar Jackson. I think this is kind of the best value we've seen for these guys. Maybe not Hurts. He's kind of climbed up from where he is. But if you think about Lamar Jackson and like his MVP season in the last 3 years, this is the cheapest we've gotten Lamar Jackson. Yeah. So I'm really in on Lamar this year. I see you guys drafted him first round in Scott Fishbowl. I did as well. I think they've tailored the offense to get back to the 2019 ways of run heavy. Him just ripping dudes up out in the field, and then Rashad Bateman and Mark Andrews just holding down the fort as his primary weapon. So I'm in on that. And then Kyler Murray, the combo of passing ability and accuracy and deep accuracy, like he's a better thrower of the football than Josh Allen, in my opinion. Like if you watch him down the field, he just hasn't really, whether it's injury or whether it's the offense slowing down, he hasn't really tied it all together. But this is a guy that's could be just blow the doors off of QB1. And I think he's just as good a bet to be QB1 as Josh Allen.
Interesting on Jalen Hurts, as I was doing some work for the lie detector segment. Jalen Hurts last year averaged 8.9 yards per attempt. That's more than Lamar's MVP season at 8.6. So we're talking about a guy who gets it done as a runner. Look, I'll admit I'm not the biggest fan of Jalen Hurts, but for fantasy football, he is elite. He could win you your league, especially at ADP between 20 and 21, depending on your drafts. The only two guys right now that are missing from this list, and Joe Burrow is actually going like very, very high. In most Scott Fishbowl drafts, I saw him anywhere from 4 to 6. Burrow and Aaron Rodgers are two that I think you could make a case for as to be early elite quarterback plays, but to your point, they lack the rushing upside that these other players have. So when we're talking about like a safe floor with elite upside, these guys check more boxes for me than say a Joe Burrow or an Aaron Rodgers. I think you could do very, very well with those guys.
So my question then is because Herbert lands in this tier and I see it consistently. It's not like it's just you guys like throwing him in here. But I think of the same situation he and Joe Burrow have. Now, Herbert's hit a little bit more consistently in fantasy. But I think Burrow, you could make a case for Burrow because of, another year removed from the injury. He did rush a lot more in college than he has in the NFL so far. So maybe more confidence in the leg would get him more wheels in the NFL. And I just think the way they showed that offense tailored in their playoff stretch, in their Super Bowl run, could mean that's what they're going to try and do. They're going to be more pass happy like they were down the stretch. So maybe that's how he gets there. But yeah, I'd agree with most of what you're saying there. It just the conundrum of Justin Herbert versus Burrow. I just don't know why we're taking Herbert as high and not Burrow. Like, I don't mind it, but
I think when you look at the offenses and what they can do through the air, I think they're both very, very good. I would argue maybe you give an edge to the Bengals. You take Chase and Higgins and Boyd as a tertiary option over a Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. Who do you want to throw in as a third? Josh Palmer. I'll prioritize the Bengals there. I think like when you look at Herbert though, he's good downfield, just like Burrow is, but he has that rushing, 63 attempts last year for 300 yards, 55 in his rookie year for 234. Like he just has that rushing ability. And he's also just a bigger body,
it's more projecting Burrow to take that step forward and rushing more. He just hasn't shown it quite yet.
Hasn't done it yet. Yeah.
A quick build that I put together from the 104, Herbert Hurts. So, taking those two elite options, stacking them up, really just trying to get most of your points from those two, and then following up with really solid pieces in Jones, Elliott, Sanders, and Penny at the running back position, and DJ Moore, Terry McLaurin, Devontae Smith to stack with Hurts, and Tyler Lockett, who is a forgotten about wide receiver, which is just wild.
The old zero tight end strategy.
Yeah, zero tight end. And you can make an argument for one, but this is basically how I'd like to build most of my Superflex teams.
Yeah, I think that's looking pretty great. You got some stacks there with Hurts and Devonta Smith. Looking good.
The thing is, though, even though we like to build teams a certain way, it might not be the most realistic. It might not be the most sustainable. When you get into a position where the draft just kind of handcuffs to a certain draft style, maybe you want to prioritize the late round quarterback. Maybe you want to take that value at other positions. And I think when you look at, reaching, I think you get to the 11th or 12th draft slot. And if there's been a run of 8 or 9 quarterbacks, you might not want to take that guy when you've got Christian McCaffrey sitting there at the 11th spot. You're like, well, should I just take him or Dalvin Cook, whoever else I like at running back? Should I take Cooper Kupp or Jamar Chase? Maybe it's better to get the running back one or the wide receiver one than the QB 9 or 10. And so I think sometimes you just have to take, the value elsewhere and target some quarterbacks later. Now, I've just put a list together, and this is not the be all end all list. And I see some questions here about Jared Goff and a potential bounce back. He is on this list for me. Tell me about some guys that you do like on this list, guys you don't, or guys you think that are missing.
Let's see here.
So I'd love to add Derek Carr to this list. He might even just be like a mid to late because
he was just a little too high for me for like, late round.
Which is funny to me because I think him and Kirk Cousins are essentially the same. But I love Kirk Cousins right now. I think people are sleeping on how good the Vikings offense can really be. We've already seen high production out of Kirk Cousins. Now, albeit it was on Washington, but it was a similar system. This is the Shanahan tree. I mean, O'Connell comes from, Sean McVay and that Shanahan tree. So it's going to be similar to what they run there. The upside with Justin Jefferson, obviously, is there a wide receiver that's more exciting to draft than Justin Jefferson this year? Like, obviously, that's you got that there, but they've got weapons all over. KJ Osborne's a nice late round guy. Irv Smith's somebody we can get hyped on. All the backs. They have like 4 good running backs there. Like, they are pretty loaded on offense. And I just think that team is great. But I also think Derek Carr, people are sleeping on the Raiders a bit. This is a guy that already threw for a ton of yards and is due for touchdown regression. And then they added one of the best touchdown scorers in the NFL in Devontae Adams. Like, how is that a bad thing? They have offensive line issues, which means the run game could not be good enough, which means what? They're going to probably throw more. I think that they'll obviously throw more in that division because it's loaded. So they're going to be in a lot of shootouts. So I think Derek Carr is a guy that, you could hopefully fall later than his ADP, like you were talking about here, Mac.
Yeah, it's 35.6. So it's about a round earlier than Kirk Cousins on average, which, I didn't include him on this list because I thought maybe it's just a little bit too early. But Kirk Cousins is also probably a hair early to be on this list as well.
Lando, if you had a favorite on this list, who do you think you like the most here?
A favorite on Davis Mills, probably. He showed a lot of gumption year one. The Texans should be from behind quite a bit. I like Davis Mills. We saw it in the comments already. Daniel Jones is a very popular bounce back candidate, has a ton of weapons. We got some hype for Kadarius Toney. Kenny Golladay is a guy that just people want to believe in. He got $70 million and didn't score a single touchdown. And Jared Goff is another one. I like the Detroit offense. They play to the last whistle till that game is over. Jared Goff is a guy that just I like a lot. I like that Detroit offense, and they should be in passing scenarios. I'm a big DeAndre Swift fan as well.
I was listening to, I think it was NBC Sports Edge's podcast. They had one of the beat writers for Detroit on, and he started rattling off these players on their offense, man. And you just start to just get jacked for Detroit. There's no, again, similar to Minnesota, they're just kind of stacked. So if everybody stays healthy, that was the big issue last year for these weapons was health. But Jared Goff's a guy who's floated these weapons before, and granted it was with Sean McVay, but he's done it. I want to go back to Davis Mills, though. I thought that was so spicy. That might be too spicy for me, Lando, but I like it. And what people don't talk about enough, Pep Hamilton is now, the offensive coordinator in Houston. This is a guy that's worked with Justin Herbert. He's worked with Andrew Luck. So there's a lot of things to like about the brains that they're surrounding. It's like they kind of took a chance on Davis Mills. They saw he actually showed some good stuff in a very bad environment. And then they said, okay, let's see how good you are. Let's try to push it a little bit farther. If they can get some weapons around him, like if Nico Collins can take a step, if Brandon Cooks is healthy all year long, and then obviously they got to get John Mechie back. But I think Brevin Jordan, they've got some stuff to be excited pieces out there.
Mm-hmm. No, I like Davis Mills a lot as well. And to Jared Goff's point, this is a guy, he's not throwing for, mid 4,000s anymore, going from the Rams to the Lions, but his completion percentage year over year has gone up. In fact, last year was the highest completion percentage of his entire career. He was very efficient, 19 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. They wasn't the best year for Detroit, but when you look at the weapons he now has around him, they picked up DJ Chark, for example. Amon-Ra St. Brown is broken out. TJ Hawkinson was a ghost at times last year. If they get a little bit healthy, a steady dose of DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams, these other guys are things could happen.
Come back.
Jameson Williams,
People aren't talking about because it's not as sexy. Josh Reynolds was a huge addition for this team. It really took them to another level. So I'm with Jared Goff.
again, what we're looking for out of these quarterbacks, you're not looking to win the league with these players. You've taken that value elsewhere. But all we want from these guys, 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, maybe grab 3 of them and try to just stream matchups. On any given week, can we get a top 12 performance out of these guys? That, I think, with the value you've gotten elsewhere, will allow you to win weeks. That's absolutely the case. I think this strategy works best from picks 9 through 12. I think you want to potentially have a big run of quarterbacks to start, and then just get the best value. So if that's like, a Christian McCaffrey, or in this case, like I have a Jamar Jefferson, really stack up those other positions. So Jefferson, Chase, Swift, Evans, Elliott, Sutton, Dillon, and then Tannehill and Winston being my quarterbacks in the 8th and 9th round. I would play this team in a heartbeat.
This team is sexual. It's really nice. Like, I don't love Tannehill, but like we said, you could kind of stream QB at this point, too. I love Winston. I think Winston took a step as a passer last year in a condensed offense, obviously. And they've got weapons galore over there in New Orleans. As long as Michael Thomas can come back healthy, which is a big if, but I still think Jarvis Landry and Chris Olave, man, I can't get enough of Chris Olave. So
Chris Timmons says, how come no love for Zach Wilson or Baker Mayfield?
Yeah.
The Zach Wilson, he has a lot of weapons in New York. I'm just not convinced he's good yet. He's the kind of guy that I want to see to believe, and he'll be available late in drafts. He could be that third option if he's really late, but he's not a guy I'm overdrafting. I'm not reaching around for a guy like Zach Wilson. And I wouldn't want it around my mom.
It took everything I had to not make a mom joke after you said reach around there.
I hit it. I had to.
Yeah, Mac got it. Yeah, Mac got it. Well, my thing with Baker is, like, I'll just say quickly, good weapons in Carolina. When we like the weapons with Baker there, other than Sam Darnold, but this is a guy with plenty of weapons in Cleveland, and a great offensive line, and a really good situation, and just never really did it for you in fantasy. So, I mean, the year he broke the touchdown record as a rookie, he was still QB 16 only. So, I mean, that's what we're talking about here with this guy.
Sad. Yeah. Okay. Strategy 3, 0 RB. I know this one isn't everyone's cup of tea, but I put together, I think, a pretty solid team. And it almost turned out to be like hero QB. Like, I took one really solid elite quarterback that fell to me, and then I just kind of grabbed another quarterback, and whatever. You can kind of pick and choose how you fill this one out. But essentially in 0 RB, you're pushing running back as far as you can down the board. And you want to stock up at other positions like quarterbacks and wide receivers, because look, quarterbacks are going earlier than they normally would in a 1 QB league. And there's also that scarcity at the running back position. So guys like, Deebo Samuel are going to fall to the 2nd, 3rd round. And you're just going to be like, thank you very much. I'll just take that. For example, in Scott Fishbowl, we got Jalen Waddle as the wide receiver 16 in the 6th round. So it just goes to show you, now that's a tight end premium league, and you'll see that kind of happen. But these guys get pushed down the board. So running backs that we can target late, I've put together a list. Now, again, this is not the be-all, end-all list. Feel free to talk about guys you don't like, guys you might want to include. I didn't include Alexander Mattison because I do think that his elite fantasy production is based on an opportunity to be the starter and not like a standalone guy like Kareem Hunt, who could be on this list as well. He was just a little bit higher. But guys I like.
Yeah, I think this list is pretty solid. I think we talked about a pre-show, but Devin Singletary is a guy I'd be interested to add to this list, just based on the volume he got down the stretch. We talked, I think, a little bit about it in last night's show, but over the last month was like a top 5, top 6 back in fantasy and points per game. Now, obviously they go and draft James Cook, but I don't think that James Cook is coming for that Devin Singletary role right away. If he does overtake him, I thought that's definitely in the range of possibilities. But 0 RB, You're trying to survive maybe the first month before you can identify waiver wire running backs to pick up or somebody you could trade for. Also love the Melvin Gordon shout out here by Classic Mike. Talk a little bit about that. But with Singletary, I think we need to take a look at the fact that Dable's gone, which means McDermott could have more of a fingerprint on this offense, meaning that they could go a little bit more run heavy than they were at least last year. And Singletary proved down the stretch for them that he could do it. So,
yeah, Melvin Gordon sitting at 120.8. So here on this list would fall between Rashad Penny and Ronald Jones. I think my omission here for Melvin Gordon was just for me personally. I do believe that Javonte Williams grabs a larger share of the workload. It might trend more towards a 60-40, hopefully 70-30 split. But they sort of exhausted his larger 2-year contract. Williams got his feet wet last year. I think this is where he steps forward and Gordon is sort of relegated to secondary touches, but he's absolutely capable. So I do understand the want for him on this list. I don't think it's outlandish.
Travy, which late round rookie running backs do you see yourself gravitating towards? Like a Dameon Pierce, a Tyler Algier, Rashad White,
baby. Yeah, I'm all in on the Rashad White hype. And the bottom line is this: like when we go this 0 RB strategy, when we go late round running back, can they be a solidified pass catcher? Can they establish a pass catching role? And man, Rashad White, like yards per route run, rivals some of the best running backs we've seen out of college as far as efficiency metrics as a receiver. Plus, he's big, dude. Like he's a big body guy. Like his comp on Player Profiler is David Johnson. So, you could get a little, goo goo gaga over that. But really what I think it is if he can earn Brady's trust, obviously big if, but if he starts out as the RB2 right now on that roster, then he's a Leonard Fournette injury away from just smashing. I love Rashad White. I think, and if you look at the environment, all the weapons they're missing, they're going to lean on the run game for Brady. Like they've already done it all the time. They're going to definitely do it here. I like Dameon Pierce. I like him being on this list too. Mm-hmm. Limited work in college, but I think he flashed really good metrics as well. Broken tackles, touchdowns. He was a playmaker for them. Now there's a lot of reasons why a guy could not get more work in college. Now, usually it means that he wasn't good enough. I don't know if that's the case with Dameon Pierce. And we know Lovie Smith's going to run the piss out of the ball. Like they're going to have to. And I think that if Dameon Pierce wins the job, he could smash it, get 200 carries, 250 touches total.
Question from Gator Fan here. Curious why A.J. Dillon is on this list and not Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard's average draft position is 100.5, whereas A.J. Dillon is 71.5, so considerably less. Again, I see Tony Pollard as a handcuff. When we're talking about A.J. Dillon, there is a Grand Canyon size hole. I'll go with that Southwest reference from my boy, from the desert.
That's right.
Grand Canyon size hole in vacated targets. And when we have that, gap, it typically gets distributed elsewhere and the running backs are who benefit. Now, Aaron Jones is going to be that primary beneficiary, but we're talking about A.J. Dillon, who actually outran Aaron Jones last year, had more attempts on the ground, had more high value touches in the 10 zone, in the 5 zone than Aaron Jones did. And we're talking about an offense that probably will continue to be one of the better ones in the league as long as Aaron Rodgers is calling signals. I'm going to take, the upside on A.J. Dillon as opposed to Tony Pollard. Let's not forget that Zeke had a down year last year and was still the RB6. So while Tony Pollard is interesting, just like Alexander Madison is, I think something has to happen to Zeke in order for Pollard to be elite. I don't think the same exists for A.J. Dillon, and that's my sort of defense on that.
Well, you could just see it too. Like A.J. Dillon's role expanded down the stretch as the Jones got banged up a little bit, but as the weather turned, and when they realized he could catch passes, he started getting more passing work. Like, yeah, he's definitely. I'm with you, Mac. A lot of people around the draft were screaming about the Packers and the wide receiver. Like, let's be honest here. I think LaFleur has wanted to change this offense to a running offense for several years now, and he's had to pull these pieces away to do it. And, say what you will, but San Francisco with a good defense and a great run game, where LaFleur's coaching tree comes from, is a model for winning in the NFL and getting deep in the playoffs. And so I think that they have two of the best backs, if not the two best backs. So that's why I think that I would go with A.J. Dillon over Tony Pollard. I do still like getting Tony Pollard in 0RB just because there's a lot of vacated targets in Dallas. If they do start using him more in the passing game, you talked about if vacated, it's the poor man's version of Devontae Adams with Amari Cooper leaving, but those are vacated targets as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like, I'm going to try to get a Pollard or a Madison on my team because then I don't need to sustain an injury to have a guy come into my roster. If I just have him, as a secondary piece, then I just get a starter if something happens to somebody I don't have. So I do believe that Pollard and Madison are elite handcuffs, but I don't see them as standalone value pieces. Quick question though, would we prefer 0RB more so in a league that had to have 3 wide receivers start? And my answer is yes.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. You can start more wide receivers, and you can just limit those running backs to just filling 2 holes as opposed to, potentially 3. So a little lineup I put together, and I think that the beauty of 0RB is that you don't have to have any particular spot in the draft for this to make sense for you. So I drafted out of the 6. I went Lamar Jackson. I then took a positional advantage in Travis Kelce, and this is not a tight end premium league, but he's still an advantage. And then ran the table on wide receiver Lamb, Evans, DJ Moore, Cortland Sutton. Picked up Ryan Tannehill in the 7th. Again, I know he's not some people's cup of tea. You could fill in any one of those guys we talked about in strategy 2. And then Sanders and Penny were my 2 running backs. I grabbed DeAndre Hopkins because with this core of 4 wide receivers, I can stomach 6 games without Hopkins and then plug him into my lineup when he returns to that elite level. So I think this is a team you could play. Absolutely. It's a little bit dicey with Sanders and Penny, but they are both projected to be starting running backs. So
yeah, and again, if it's one of those 3 wide receiver situations, or even 2 wide receiver and a flex, you're only having to start the 2 running backs. Like I think this is a fantastic build. This is like when 0RB kind of goes right because you ended up with the 2 starters. And again, even if we love Ken
Travis
Walker,
Kelce.
Yeah, exactly. The positional advantage there. So like, even if we love Ken Walker, Penny's going to get the first crack at it. Like he's 100%. Definitely, I would say you get 2 to 3 weeks at bare minimum of Penny, barring injury in the first game. I don't want to put that evil on him, but I think that's exactly the kind of build you're hoping for when you go 0RB.
And these are managed leagues we're talking about. And if you're listening to this, you get to trade in your league. So you have the opportunity to flip a couple of these wide receivers and get that Christian McCaffrey type, the Jonathan Taylor type running back that breaks out. And you can sustain injuries. I mean, one of the reasons why that 0 running back is so popular is because running backs have a higher tendency to also get injured.
Yep.
Wide receivers typically do not. Now that is not that's not a rule. It's just it's
just a
probable.
fact. Like,
it's just a fact. Yeah,
it is.
So that's why we do this. And I mean, Miles Sanders and Rashad Penny are not. They could easily get injured as well, but there's waivers for that, of course.
Yeah.
Ask the Elijah Mitchell owners last year. Like you can get a guy off waivers that'll dominate.
It's or the Penny owner.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
All right, on to a quick segment. It'll be like 2 minutes before we jump into the mock draft. If you are mock drafting with us, go ahead and get your sleeper ready. Also, go ahead and put a like on this video. Feel free to share it out. Leave a comment what you thought about these strategies. I have 3 pieces of information presented to you as fact, and your job is to find the one that is false. So 2 of these are true. 1 of them is a lie. Here we go. A, in 2021, this was the first time we saw 3 rookie wide receivers finish inside the top 15 for fantasy purposes. Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, and Amon-Ra St. Brown were the 3. Again, first time ever. B, Kyler Murray fumbled the ball 13 times, but never lost a single one. He actually set the NFL record for most recovered fumbles in a season. 13 fumbles. C, in 2021, Nick Chubb averaged a mind-blowing 5.15 yards after contact, which was better than 14 starting running backs' average yards per attempt. Talk me through what you're thinking here. A, B, or C, which one is the lie?
Man, these are really good, Mac.
These are good.
Yeah, these are
Thank
good.
you.
I can't believe that he recovered all 13 of those fumbles. So I wanted it to be A when you read it. Like I was thinking, I'm like, oh man, I don't think that that's true, but maybe it is. Like maybe we've had top 20, maybe we've had top 25, but maybe not all 3 in the top 15. So I am going to personally guess B. The Nick Chubb thing, like you could tell me any stat about Nick Chubb as a rusher, and it's the truth. Like that, Nick Chubb's the best running back in the NFL. Like we know that. So if I'm wrong, then I'll eat crow on that. Like that's fine.
I'm gonna go A as the lie. I'm gonna go. There were 3 other wide receivers inside the top 15.
C.
What?
C is the lie.
Oh, this is just well done by you, Max. Done.
So last time it was too easy. This time I had to step my game up. I did read
like
something
5.10.
No, it was 4.06, but it wasn't in comparison to anybody else. It was just like Nick Chubb averaged, a crazy 4.06 yards after contact. And I was like, let me beef that up. Let me put it into a different context. Kyler Murray actually lost the ball 13 times and never lost one. Like he fumbled it, never lost it.
That is insane.
And then the closest rookie wide receiver trio was the Mike Evans, Odell Beckham Jr., Kelvin Benjamin year. Kelvin Benjamin was 16. So he had OBJ at 7.
Leave it to Kelvin, dude, to be just dragging his own weight around there.
Yeah. Hey, that was elite Kelvin, though.
Yeah, it was, dude.
Yeah, I think Odell Beckham was like 7.
That's exactly who I thought about was OBJ. I just couldn't think of. I knew it was Mike Evans. I couldn't think of the third.
Mike Evans was 11, and Benjamin was a 16, off by 1. So we're on to the mock draft, fellas.
Let's do it.
12-team Superflex, going to be a time. Let me go ahead and get that up on the screen right now. Travy, you're drafting out of the 1-6. Super balanced, nice and easy. I'm drafting it at the 9. Lando's on the 3, so we're just sort of on opposite ends of the spectrum here, which is good. We never want to be competing for. So what are you trying to do here with your pick? You trying to put a strategy together? You're going to let it kind of fall to you? What are you thinking?
Here's my overall strategy, Mac. Draft good players. So hopefully I'm able to do that. No, I think I picked the 6 because I've done it. We've done these mocks, and when the first 3 are taken, I just kind of want to get out of the top. So I was like, I'll stay in the middle. I'll just kind of go as the draft comes to me. The ends can get a little dicey. You do have to reach a little bit more, I feel like. Sure. But we do have that 3rd round reversal, so that might even it up a little bit. So we'll see.
We do have the 3rd round reversal. So on the clock, we're doing a 30-second timer here just to keep things moving. We've got Griffin first man up.
Baggins, I love that.
Yeah, hopefully. Okay, Jonathan Taylor got that pick in time. I'm gonna have to get this out on my phone here.
Yeah, or not, dude. You could just you don't have to pick. It's fine.
Just auto draft your team. You're good.
Yeah. 30 seconds is good though. Keeps things fun.
Oh, there we
Eckler.
go. Let's go with Josh Allen at the 103. I couldn't hit that button quick enough.
Yeah, man.
Dang. Yeah, that's nice value for you, Lando. It also puts me in a hopeful position with Christian McCaffrey still out there. I would love to get my hands on like a Jackson. I mean, they should. There was a question in the chat. Do they know it's Superflex? They should. It says episode 207 Superflex mock.
Got to look at your roster too in these things. Got to make sure the rosters.
Yeah,
Mike helped us last night because we didn't have we had the Superflex in there, but it was a regular.
Gotcha.
QB here.
So we are 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 tight end, 2 flex, and 1 Superflex. For those, so big run on quarterback, kind of what we expect to see. It comes to me,
Max on the outside looking in.
Yeah, man. And look, you never want to be the one to finish a run.
That's right.
You always want to be the one to start it. So for me, this is kind of like very simple. I could go get Justin Jefferson, but I have like 0 Christian McCaffrey, and I think
Let's go.
that's just swinging for the fences. So I'll just take McCaffrey. Value city on that one.
So Travy, the trendy thing on Twitter right now is to rank McCaffrey 101. Are you a part of that crew?
I don't know if I could rank him 101. I did take him 101 last night in our mock over Jonathan Taylor. And the point being, to Mac's point, like if I swing for upside, there's not a running back in the NFL that has more upside than Christian McCaffrey. It's just pure and simple. That's just how it goes. And upside wins you the leagues. Now, you could argue, well, he's got a, injury history, and everybody wants to say, every running back does have injury concern. And it's true. I don't know. I'll speak for myself here. Last year felt like the first time in a while where just the first round got decimated.
Mm-hmm.
We saw all these, the second round backs like Joe Mixon and Austin Eckler really are the guys that like carried a lot of teams, plus later backs and James Conner and stuff. But yeah, to make a short answer long here, I'm okay with Christian McCaffrey at 101, but I do think you have to rank Jonathan Taylor ahead of him just based on safety, volume, right. Offensive line, role in the offense.
Yeah, I mean, JT is outrageous.
I mean, age, he's just special. That's what you have to go with. Like, we're like, oh, well, number one doesn't repeat. And we always just say on the show, we don't care. We don't give a shit if number one repeats. But the thing is, if there was somebody you'd bet to repeat, Jonathan Taylor's a pretty good bet to do it. My concern with JT and CMC, that whole dichotomy, is the red zone usage. Taylor had so much red zone usage last year. And I'm not saying that can't carry over for year to year for great backs.
Mm-hmm.
The problem for me is they were hiding Carson Wentz a lot, and Matt Ryan's going to be better than Carson Wentz, and that's just, I just believe that. And I think that could mean a little bit less of the touchdown upside for Taylor.
No, like, again, on a points per game basis, there's nobody who scores more points than Christian McCaffrey when he plays. I understand that he has now a 2-year history of not playing a significant amount of games. I acknowledge that. And if that weren't the case, he'd be 101, even with Jonathan Taylor doing what Jonathan Taylor had done. Like, CMC would be there.
Is this PPR?
Half
PPR.
Yeah, half. It doesn't really give you I think everything is defaulted to half, okay. in a 2 QB, but I went Dalvin Cook. So I've got Christian McCaffrey and Dalvin Cook, 2 running backs who I think when you look at like a quote unquote workhorse, bell cow, these guys are one of a small group that fit that bill, who catch a ton of passes, who are elite rushers. And I'm looking for Dalvin Cook on a big bounce back year here. So I'll go McCaffrey, Cook, kind of going late round QB right off the rip.
And we talked a little bit pre-show, but I think sometimes when you're in the back half of the draft, you have to go that. Like the draft kind of dictates it, like ending the run. My boy Lando takes DeAndre Swift here. Big on Swift. I especially in any kind of PPR format this half, but man, as a receiver, he is very, very special. If he can just get a little bit better, people can improve between the tackles, and I think he will. And that offense we talked about. How you feeling about that build so far, Lando?
Yeah, so far it's good. I think I want to do the hero quarterback strategy. So I got Josh Allen. I could not pass up on Josh Allen, so I just got to, now I play by ear. I got to get there's lots of value on wide receiver. Mac and I talk about it all the time. If you overdraft a wide receiver, it's almost, I love having a Jefferson or a Chase, but
sure,
the positional scarcity of running back really dries up. And who knows what's going to happen with quarterback? Yes, there's that big run, but now people want their positions. They want their running backs. So I feel like I could sneak a quarterback in maybe round 3 or 4 that I was even thinking about in round 2.
Man, I was really set on taking Stephon Diggs there, and it's now flipped me to what do I do?
So
Aaron Rodgers is sitting there, which is Probably nice value for the position, but let's have some fun. Let's go a 3 quarterback start with Alvin Kamara as well.
What, Travy? I mean, CD Lamb. What are your thoughts on CD? Do you think
I'm
he's
about to take him right here?
Take that next step forward. If Classic Mike lets you go take him.
Yeah, if he's there, I'm gonna snag him. The big thing for CD is just vacated targets. Like we scream for CD to be the next elite wide receiver, and some of the things have got in the way of that, and that's target share because Dak had an affinity for Amari Cooper, and Amari Cooper is a good separator. He's going to soak up targets. Well, Amari Cooper's gone. I'll take CD Lamb here. I'm good with that. I would have taken Diggs or CD Lamb, but obviously Mac was talking a little bit about Diggs there. And I think Diggs or Lamb is kind of a discount. I mean, he's going pretty high, but I think he's just like a dark horse to be wide receiver 1 overall. Like we're not talking about that enough because of Jamar Chase, because of Joe Burrow. And all we need is the offense to kind of stay consistent. Last year, if you look at what happened with Dallas's defense, they put them in such good game scripts all the time. That's not going to happen again. They had so many turnovers. And they're off. They're going to need more production out of the passing game, and they're already a pass happy team. So imagine a full season of them having to throw a lot more. CeeDee Lamb and Dalton Schultz is another one that I think benefits from that, of just like massive volume.
That you bring up Dalton Schultz, and I'm a big fan of him as well. And I just think of Johnny's draft. Like, did he take 5 tight ends in this?
Yeah, he went bully tight end. He's in on the, he's going. I mean, Johnny's such a big brain gamer. He's always trying to look for like some, unique, and you want to be unique in these like that. There's 3,000 people in this. Like, well, I'm with it. That's the reason why I got in on, Deshaun Watson and Kamara, because that's just like, well, at this point, I just want to be unique and try and win it all. Johnny also prides himself on the ability to kind of stream wide receivers a little bit better than maybe the field. So I think that's kind of the strategy he was going with: push wide receiver a little more, take more tight ends. And, because you're not just getting more tight ends to play in a tight end premium with that first down kind of advantage, but you're also taking that away, potentially from your league mates. So that was his thinking. I wouldn't have done it, but that's what I told him. I said, he keeps asking me who he should take. And I'm like, you need another running back or a wide receiver here because 50 tight ends. But I love it. I love like going for it. That's my big thing.
No, yeah, totally. And absolutely. The Scott Fish Bowl is so fun. And some of these like best ball drafts, if you're on whatever platform you are, take some risks, have a good time.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not going to win being safe.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Well, speaking about being safe, Lando, you took Trey Lance. That is the opposite of safety. If you were drafting today, and this was a real draft, real league,
I'm taking Derek Carr all day.
Could you have? Yeah, there you go. Could you have the heart to draft Trey Lance? Honestly,
it depends. I mean, if you're not first or last, Trey Lance is a super high risk player. I saw him on Sleeper today that Jimmy G was throwing the football for the first time today. That's not really that good to see in late July. Like he's really behind schedule. I think they just want to see him on the field so they could trade him or release him or whatever it is. But I don't think he's on the team come week 1 in San Francisco. So that's why I'm not completely staying away from Lance, even in mock drafts.
Yeah.
So Jimmy G has been throwing for weeks. Yeah, but I mean, they just reported about it. I mean, I would say not enough to be.
I mean, the
team camp shakes out,
right? They didn't allow him at OTAs. They didn't want him in the building, and whether that's because Shanahan didn't want to like look at him so he wouldn't be tempted, or like they just don't want to, like he's not part of the team. So they've been telling us. The problem is, to your point, Lando, teams haven't wanted to trade for him because of the shoulder surgery.
Yeah.
Otherwise, teams would be in, and it's a big contract, to take on the books. But again, I think San Francisco's getting rid of Jimmy G. Like it's going to happen. Either they're going to trade him or cut him. I
hope he goes to Seattle, to be completely honest with you.
That would be pretty good there. I think it would make us feel a lot more confident in the wide receivers. That's for sure.
Yeah.
There's certainly a like if you look at Tyler Lockett right now, he's absolutely buried. I want to actually get his ADP here while we have 116.4. I mean, this is a guy who's been a top 20 wide receiver with Russell Wilson, and all of a sudden he falls off a cliff because Russell Wilson's gone. I think there's some value on Lockett. I'm not afraid of him per se, but it would certainly help if Jimmy Garoppolo was there instead of Geno Smith or Drew Lock, whoever it's going to be throwing the football. I think he'd be a big upgrade, even though he's not a sexy option.
Well, I mean, Jimmy G is a sexy man.
He is a very good-looking man.
Sexy option, yeah. Yeah, we were having a debate on our work meeting before this with the boys at TFW about the Fields-Lance dichotomy, and both those guys, Austin and Johnny, are in on waiting on Lance and just going Fields later. I love Lance's environment. I love so much more, man. He's in a better offense. He's with a better coaching staff. We've seen guys come in there like Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard. Not that they've been huge fantasy assets, but they put up big numbers on the field.
Yes.
And I just think that is enough. Plus, RG3 was a mobile quarterback that was coached by our guy Shanahan in Washington. So I'm in on the upside.
Speaking of RG3, I just saw some golf scores from him from the ACC Celebrity Pro-Am. Dude, 119, 125.
Ooh, I thought he was a player.
Man, you know who is a player though? Adam Thielen came like fourth, shot 68 the final day. Joe Pavelski shot like 2 rounds sub 70. There's some good play. Some good play, but Robert Griffin, man, dead last, like 125. It's rough.
I'd like to see what was what's his name now? I can't think of it.
J.R.
Smith. Yeah, that's who I'd like to see.
JR.
Yeah,
he's all right.
Yeah, I know it's good.
I think Steph is a way better player. If you're looking at NBA guys,
who's better, Steph or it's got to be Rodgers, right? Steph or Rodgers.
Rodgers is pretty good. Yeah.
I think Steph's better.
Is he?
Rodgers actually, I think, beat him in the ACC. Let me vet that. Rodgers
shot
like 72
Rodgers
last
is
day.
one of those guys, like if you were playing on the bat, like just with buddies, he's not as good. But when you get him in the lights, like if you look at the match, he's always like training. Yeah. He needs a little bit. Like it's the only place he can actually be clutch because God knows he hasn't done it for us.
Yeah. So Tony Romo won the event, 73, 73, 69. And then Aaron Rodgers was 9th. Best NFL player, I guess you could say, other than Romo. 80, 77, 72 were his 3 rounds. Steph Curry was 77, 81, 75. So Raji got him by a few.
Hey, that ain't bad.
Yeah. Hey, that's good shooting under the lights.
Yep. It's are you much of a golfer, Travy?
I like to golf. I'm not very good at it, but it does take a lot of balls to to golf like I do. So that's really my whole spiel. I love golf. Like you're outside, you're walking in fresh cut grass. It's a beautiful course. Maybe you're walking, maybe you're on the cart, you're crushing cold ones.
Sure.
Maybe you're ripping some darts or a cigar. Like I think it's a beautiful time. I get a little nervous when there's like really good players with you or really good players behind you.
Sure.
But other than that, I try to have a good time. And if you're a good person, usually it all works out. So,
yeah. I mean, even for golfers, like playing on a Wednesday with some buddies, it's easy to shoot a good score. But once you get in that tournament mode, when you're counting, you have to finish every single putt and you can't just fluff up the ball in the rough, it gets tough. It gets tough.
Well, and then I feel like I get in the mode, like I've had a few beers and then then you get pissed and then you're in your head, I just got to remember, I'm not that good. So.
You sound like every golfer. You don't do it for a living, right? Like that's, there's a reason why we're not playing on Sunday on TV.
Exactly.
Griff wants you on his team. Him and you versus me and Lando. We have to play worst ball scramble though.
I've never even played worst ball. Yeah.
No, you guys get to play scramble and Landon and I have to play worst ball.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It's like
Yeah,
you guys get to choose which one we take.
Yeah, I love that. But you guys are probably good enough that
Mac is Mac's a stick.
crushes.
Yeah,
Man, don't let Lando soft talk you on his abilities. This man is a stick.
Yeah, Anthony's saying I like to play golf like Mahomes. Absolutely. I love to crush beers. I love to talk shit. Remember last year they were like, watch out for Herbert, and he's like, I'll believe it when I see it. And then Herbert beat him in the regular season. They were playing that up. But yeah, I'm similar to Mahomes, only in that respect. No other respect.
So nice guy, Gino. Am I stupid to take JJ at 4? I assume he's talking about Justin Jefferson. If so,
in a super flex,
I mean, that's what we're talking today. Super flex.
I think that would be an error, personally.
I mean, yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, if you want a guy like Justin Jefferson, you should be at the back of the first round, not at 4. You can get a Justin Herbert and then trade for Jefferson after.
Yeah,
it's just what position, what player is going to score you more points? It's always going to be the quarterback. Always.
Yeah, and like mid-round to late-round quarterbacks are going to score you more than Justin Jefferson. So, like, that's, again, what we're talking about here. You aren't stupid, Gino. Don't ever, don't call him stupid. But we do advise. Now, if you're going single QB, if you're going in your redraft, I don't mind JJ at 4.
Hey,
like, I think I like the top 5 picks this year. If you can get one of the elite 3 wide receivers, if you can get one of the top 3 or 2 to 3 backs, I like that. But yeah, for Superflex, it's ill-advised.
What do you guys think about Deshaun Watson real quick as I'm up on the clock? Do you think he's going to get suspended? What's the deal here?
Yeah, so we had Drew Davenport on last week. We got a video up on the site where that interview kind of happens, and he's a great follow on Twitter, by the way, at Drew Davenport FF. He's a criminal defense lawyer for the last 21 years, studies the NFL, and his, he's thinking they're going to go between 8 and 12 games because they really want to get at least half the year, if not more. But he's not in the thinking that it'll be no suspension. He's also not in the thinking that it'll be a year-long suspension.
Full year.
Yeah, and I think that's about right. We've seen some of the rhetoric that Watson would probably sue if he got the full year. This could get real ugly. And I think the reason here, let me make my pick, but I wanted to talk a little bit about, I guess.
Yeah, I took him there because, I mean, at this point, why not let's just get the smoke. I want it all.
Yeah, and I think the upside here is just so great down the stretch, because even if it is 12 games,
sure,
you got to try and get maybe one more quarterback. So maybe you sacrifice a late RB or wide receiver to get that other quarterback. But I think we're talking about a guy who can be QB1 overall any week, and I think that's huge.
Yeah, that's where we're at. Yeah.
But what I wanted to say is Drew Davenport talked about the precedence that was kind of set with the Zeke case. Because remember, the Zeke case was thrown out, but the NFL still overruled the legal situation and suspended him. And apparently Jerry Jones just went, ape shit on the NFL and said, you can't do this. And now what you see, the NFL brings in a retired judge and outside. They're not going to rule unless the legal situation's cleared up now. So they've kind of changed their tune. So that's what's kind of taken so long. They're waiting. They're very hush-hush. And I think they're having a hard time deciding the right amount of time because of all the public, it's terrible. Like, you read some of the stuff. I don't know if you watch the Real Sports on HBO section on it. It's terrible stuff. All of that aside, the NFL's got to present a big enough case and actually say that, with a bunch of settled cases that they can make that case, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I don't know what the actual number is. Has he settled with
20? I think 20 of
24
or 25, however many. Yeah, so he's settled with that many, but the problem is that some of the cases that are still on have some really bad details. Obviously, it's all bad, but some of the stuff that's in there is just obviously really, really, really distasteful. And the NFL, they're trying to be more of a public image league, and kind of cater more to that. But there's also, this is a retired judge. She's going to look at the facts of the case that she has. She's going to look at it from that angle. And we'll see. I thought going into talking with Drew that the Deshaun Watson stuff was basically like, if Sue Robinson came in and ruled a certain way, Goodell could still go and change it. But Drew's he's under the thing that they won't do that. That's why they got this person. They want to respect the due process.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Dang. Sounds like a good show.
Oh, it was excellent. Yeah, you guys got to check it out. We talked to Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, and our guy, Deshaun Watson there. I shouldn't say our guy. Deshaun Watson. He's somebody I drafted in Scott Fishbowl, though. So,
speaking of some stuff on Twitter and a guy that just went, J.K. Dobbins. There's a bit of beef on Twitter.
I saw a funny, I can't remember who tweeted it, and it was like, because he said something about, me and Jesus. We don't know what me and Jesus have been up to. He's like, yo, if you're not getting a guy on your team that's training with Jesus, like, what are you doing? You gotta get this guy on your.
I think the quote was like, I would post videos, but I don't want to show you what me and Jesus are up to at the highest level. Right. And I was like, literally, like, pun intended, God bless J.K. Dobbins. Like, seriously, first of all, I have J.K. Dobbins in Dynasty, so it's been a rough summer. Hearing some of the so I can kind of feel his pain a little bit as, I'm not J.K. Dobbins, but I can kind of feel it out. But at the same time, I'm like, man, you are mad, bro. Like, you came back at this hard.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you're that loud, I feel like how much of that is valid. So we'll see. I'm excited to see it now. It's like, I'm almost like, did he do this because he wants extra motivation? Because if so, that's kind of smart. Like, extra motivation in your rehab. I don't know if you guys have rehabbed from injury, but it's hard work, man. It ain't easy. You got to relearn stuff, especially with those ACL things. And he had a pretty gruesome ACL injury. So he's had to be immobilized. We had Dr. Edwin Porras on, and he was talking a little bit about it, saying with that injury, you got to be immobilized more than just a regular ACL, which means you're frustrated, man. And some of that came through, man. You could feel it.
Yeah, he's got a LCL injury as well. People are suspecting, which makes sense. I mean, he's almost a full year from when it happened, and still not projected to be ready to go for week 1. It's crazy. There had to be more to it than what was reported.
Yeah.
Sadly.
And the Ravens are historically kind of quiet about this stuff. So I think it kind of plays in line with what they try to, like, hold a lot close to the chest. I mean, good organizations try to do that. I think that's smart.
Classic Mike's also saying in the meniscus as well. I hadn't heard that, but
yeah, I mean, it's all speculation at this point because none of that, as Max said, was reported.
Sure.
But yeah, I think, the issue isn't the injury for me. I could almost give to, like, I think he's going to be back, whether it's week 1 or week 4, he'll be back. The issue is the pass catching. Now, I think he's good enough to be a pass catcher, but Lamar doesn't necessarily target his backs. Now, without a lot of people to throw to in the offense, will that matter? I like that this injury news is coming. Give me a discount on J.K. Dobbins. I don't have to take him as a clear cut, and he can be a league winner potentially for me.
Well, if I'm going to get him, if it's a Superflex league, the back of the 7th, beginning of the 8th, I'm fine taking J.K. Dobbins there. The opportunity cost is perfect.
Right.
But, I guess not a year ago, but if you had drafted in early August a year ago, you were taking him in the 3rd or 4th round. It was, twice the price. And this just makes a lot of sense. But I'm not optimistic for him to be, hot out of the gates, let's just say. But it might be, again, like a down the stretch play. But that's what you're drafting him to be. You're running back 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think when it comes to, like, that, like classic Mike said, I'm not touching J.K. Dobbins. I think there's a lot of players that, I'm not touching at the current price.
Right.
I think I would draft everybody if the price was right.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm trying to look up. Underdog fantasy or underdog ADP, just because. Sorry, I think my dog's out there going nuts.
Do you think, man?
My thing is like Cam Akers, like we're drafting Cam Akers, right? I would imagine ahead of Dobbins, right?
Cam Akers went in the 5th round of this draft.
I took him back in the 5th.
Like there's similar concern for me. Now he came back and we saw it, but Achilles are nasty injuries that we don't have a lot of data on. Yeah, he wasn't naming some of those things. So like I'm like, if we're gonna be in on that, like
sure.
Because I think the argument is you want a pass catcher most times than not. It's worth more. But sometimes we get these offenses where, you know, in Baltimore, Mark Ingram, so to speak, or these offenses where they just run the piss out of the ball so much that it kind of makes up for you not getting the pass catching. Yes. And so if by week 4 he's just, you know, 20 carries a game and a couple targets, like I'll want that for sure.
And I mean, they're both on such good offenses as well that in theory, they should be scoring lots of touchdowns. And that's why you want J.K. Dobbins. That's why you're willing to take the risk on him, is because if he's back to full strength week 4 or 5, he's like you said, Travy, he's a league winner almost regardless of if he catches the ball or not. But obviously it helps if he gets dump off passes from Lamar. They're going to need pass catchers there. I mean, they don't have too much of a reliable option. Tons of hype on Rashad Bateman. Mm-hmm. He's going to continue to rise up draft boards because every talking head like us is just going to talk him up. And then all the very casual guys that are just showing up to the draft see Rashad Bateman's name plastered everywhere, and then they're going to reach a couple rounds for him. So with that being said, they're going to need to pass the ball to somewhere. And if Dobbins is indeed healthy for week 1, he's going to have to get it.
And listen, I mean, Jesus raised people from the dead, so I'm pretty sure Jesus is going to be able to handle them in this.
That was a perfect.
Nasty.
Yeah.
We haven't talked at all about somebody, but I want to get your take on him. Rashad Bateman, is there a better candidate for a breakout sophomore season?
No, I don't think so. Just as far as vacated targets, rolling the offense, all the things we need. Like even if it wasn't
for targets,
yeah, like all the things that we want. He was. People forget how good of a prospect he was as a wide receiver coming out.
Yep.
And I say that, but the ADP is showing us that they remember. You know, the market remembers, but I think the casuals are not going to remember that as much. And I think he's just ready to kind of dominate. And I love taking a shot at him. Like if you're in on a Gabe Davis, you got to be in on a Rashad Bateman, because Gabe Davis may not be as good of a wide receiver as Rashad Bateman, you know? And I just think he's got a real chance to be the number 1 overall. I'm really in on Rashad Bateman. I've got him a couple times, got him in Scott Fishbowl. So I have the Lamar Bateman stack in Scott Fishbowl.
Super jealous. We wanted that, but he went so early in our draft. We couldn't.
Yeah, he's just there's like a group of wide receivers that I just love. Like I love hammering wide receiver more in redraft than Superflex, but between like 4 and 7, you know, 3 and 7. And I just think there's just so many good guys in there. And Bateman is definitely one of them.
Yeah, let me pull up where Bateman went in our draft.
We are on the clock now, too, Mac, in Scott Fish.
Okay. He went 609.
Yeah.
You know, like we went Jalen Waddle, and then 5 picks later, Rashad Bateman went. It was like, dang. Since Kenny Golladay landed, who has gone off the board for us, just so I can fill this in?
Gesicki went off the board.
No, in order from Golladay.
From Golladay went Laviska Shenault.
Interesting play.
Cordell Patterson. And Mike Gesicki.
Laviska Shenault.
I was hoping Gage would get back to me there, Travy. That's a nice.
Yeah, I had to take him. Yeah, he fell in this one. Usually he's getting steamed up here. I'm all the way in on a guy like Gage, man. I think it's all there for him.
Oh, heck yeah. Same.
So in Scott Fishbowl, it was 6 through 9 that I went. Nice. Wide receiver. Cortland Sutton, Allen Robinson, Rashad Bateman, Russell Gage. So I waited all the way to the 6, but then able to stack 4 of those guys together. That I'm just really big on those guys. I think they all have huge ceilings, and you know, if a couple of them hit, I'm sitting good. Got Tolbert later.
Mm-hmm. I did see that actually.
Yeah.
Sorry, who were those guys you mentioned, Travy?
Yeah, so 6 through 9 got Cortland Sutton, Allen Robinson, Rashad Bateman, Russell Gage.
Nice.
That's good. That's a good run.
Yeah, we did not have that opportunity.
We had in like between the 6th and 7th pick, Landon and I were like, okay, this is our long term. We've got 14 picks between our next pick, and we just took Waddle, and we're like, look, we're in good shape here. Quarterbacks, tight ends will probably start, flying off the board. There was 11 out of 14 players taken were wide receivers, and we were just like,
well, and then we had a huge run of QBs to start. I mean, huge, like even through 3 rounds. And it was just like it pushed everything down. So that gave us kind of an opportunity gave me an opportunity to kind of scoop up wide receiver later. And it's just like it was just like seeing what was happening and like, okay, we'll adjust here. Because I didn't really necessarily want to go that route. I wanted to go QB early. I waited on my second QB. So.
What are your thoughts, Travy, on the backfield in San Francisco? We talked about them already a little bit with Trey Lance and Debo, but do you think that it's Elijah Mitchell's backfield? His ADP continues to drop, but Tyrion Davis-Price isn't really a guy that people are drafting either. Maybe super late, or if you're in a super sharp league, maybe. But what do you think about that backfield? Are you kind of hands off a little bit?
No, I think that. So I think that Mitchell is priced right. I do like taking stabs at TDP. I also think that it was funny today we saw the Jeff Wilson take that if the season started today without training camp, Jeff Wilson would be the backup for Elijah Mitchell, which kind of was it makes sense. Like I think Shanahan's kind of similar to Belichick in that regard, where rookies are going to need to earn it. But I think that we have seen this. We know with San Francisco it can be ambiguous, but we know that they like to establish roles, right? And they had the Mostert role, which Mitchell then filled as soon as Mostert was done. But they also have the Jeff Wilson role, which is kind of like that red zone role,
right?
The bigger back. And TDP is a bigger back. And if you look last year, Mitchell didn't get the money touches. Debo Samuel did. So he couldn't stay healthy without the money touches. I don't know if he's going to necessarily stay healthy with the money touches. And TDP is a good bet that, we saw Tevin Coleman in this offense fall in for 4 touchdowns, I think on multiple occasions. So like there's definitely, they're going to run again, use this phrase all night long. They're going to run the piss out of the ball. They do every year. So I would take stabs at it. It just depends on cost. Like where did Mitchell go in this draft? The 7th, 7-8. And we're taking him ahead of CEH. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Ahead of Miles Sanders, also fine with that because they're essentially the same player because they don't use Miles Sanders as the receiver or the running back in the red zone. And he's saying, don't draft me. At least Mitchell's been productive on that kind of workload.
Sure.
I just wish there was a way for us to know they're going to use Mitchell in the red zone and not, TDP. That's where I'm at with it.
Man, Robo Chris, I had Gus Edwards lined up just in case J.K. Dobbins didn't play. I know Gus Edwards is questionable as well, but I wanted him. I typically don't like to insure my running backs, but Alexander Madison at this point is too good to pass up. And as the Dalvin Cook owner, kind of makes a lot of sense. The only reason I don't like doing that is because I have to sustain an injury for a player to graduate to a valuable position, whereas taking a Kenneth Gainwell or a Gus Edwards in that case would have been probably better for my lineup, but the guy I wanted went. Good pick, Chris.
I love the Schwartz strategy here. He didn't touch running back until round 8, and he just ran the board back ever since.
Hey man, there's different ways to build a lineup. That's the coolest part about Superflex. I feel like you get into one quarterback leagues, and whether it's standard, half PPR, full PPR, it doesn't change a dramatic amount. There's different ways to win in these leagues, and I think that's why it's so much fun. I typically wouldn't build a team the way that I did, but I think I would play my team. I think it's fun.
Well, you'd have to. No, but I think I'm with you. Like I think the way that Superflex forces you to be flexible is really a beautiful thing, and that's the best way you get better. All these mocks are for nothing if you're not trying new strategies, trying to come out of your cage, because that's really where the win happens. If you have multiple, players in a certain tier. I think tiers are so great because you don't get sold on one player. You have an ability to, be like water, as Bruce Lee says. You kind of want to, be able to be molded into whatever strategy fits, what's going on in the draft, because that's how you have the advantage.
Yeah, I agree. It's not about players for me. Like, when I think you guys asked me like what my favorite draft slot was, and yeah, sure, like right in the middle sounds great, but like it's not about a single player. Like I can't control who everyone else drafts. So if
I think honestly for me, like Lando, I think it comes down to, I don't have yes, I like to go QB early, but if I got like the 109 versus the 103 in a draft, I wouldn't be like, oh man. I just feel like, all right, this is a new opportunity to try a new strategy. And I feel like at the end of the day, if you take what the draft presents you, you can still make a competitive team no matter where you fall in a snake draft. So I would love to build it a certain way, but that doesn't mean that I still can't win from wherever I am.
Yeah, we talk about this all the time, kind of in our league of record, but some of the teams I've hated the most on draft day have been my most successful teams, or some of the teams that have been the worst to manage, just like so frustrating pulling your hair out, are my championship squads. And that's just because, I think of it a lot like poker. What do they call kind of the best poker players in the world? They call them grinders. And I think that's what we do in fantasy is we grind. We grind the draft out, and then we grind the waiver. We grind in trades. Like, you're continuously having to do the next best thing because everybody's after it. And dude, like, fantasy players are just getting more and more sharp as we get going. And I think it's just a testament to a great game that we're playing here. And
it's because everyone's an analyst now.
Yeah,
we don't have players. Analysts. Everyone's an analyst, self-proclaimed.
Travy,
we shifted it up and tried to go, we're not experts, like Charles Barkley says, only God's an expert here. We're just trying to have fun with you, root for some players. And, if you like our takes, then hopefully you win some money and beat your friends, but have a good time while doing it,
Love it.
Travy, why don't you go through while these last couple picks are being made and select your favorite team. You can't pick yourself. You can't pick Landon or myself, but you can pick anybody else. And before we come to you for that, Landon and I did want to introduce to you and announce our first participant in the 2022 Listener League. Lando, I'll flip it over to you. The first person in, along with Dynasty Nate and ourselves, will be
longtime listener, one of the best fantasy players I know, Claire Moscow. She's a great gal from California.
Yes,
welcome to the Listener League. We appreciate you. She already accepted our invitation. She's in. I can't wait to play against you and get after it. You're going to be a great adversary this year. And longtime listener. She's active in our Discord. She's in our DM. She's talking to us throughout the year about trades. Welcome to the Listener League, Claire. Happy to have you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think Claire's a great addition. We want people that will bring some fire, some passion. Again, it doesn't really matter to me how many championships you've won. I want to see somebody who's going to be active on the message board. He's going to be talking trash. He's, going to be writing raps, entertaining the folks, getting in the league like that. These are the things that I want. Drop them bars.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter to me. But if you wanted to get in, feel free to join the Discord. Leave us a message on the Listener League thread, and we'll announce another one next week. Flip it over to our man here, Travy. Who is your favorite team from this draft? We'll kind of declare them the winner.
This is hard, man. There was what I usually do in these Superflex grades is I look at your first two quarterbacks, because I think so much of it swings that way. Like if you go, I think elite quarterback's the best strategy. Like if you can go elite quarterback early. But it didn't really work for anybody in this draft. Like we kind of pushed them down. Nobody really got other than I'm not allowed to grade some of our teams or there. But I like Donflict. the first start here I thought was really good, but I'm not huge on Kittle. I'm also not big on Metcalf, taking Godwin. Some of these guys, Burks having a rough camp. Some of these guys that I'm a little bit out on. So, and he auto drafted. So I think that's part of why it went that way.
Sure.
I think Classic Mike's team is probably the one I like the most. Got Burrow, got Goff. I think you're set at quarterback. I love the upside of your running backs with Mixon, but then Javonte. Don't love Josh Jacobs, but the value you got him there as your RB3. Yeah, that's awesome. Wide receivers are really good. You got Steady Eddie and Keenan Allen. Then you got who I think could be a top 5 wide receiver this year in Cortland Sutton. You got some upside in Gabe Davis there. And we talked about Christian Kirk a little bit at the beginning. So Darrell Henderson not getting talked about enough as a great contingency pick in the late rounds. Ronald Jones, another one that could win that job. Solid at tight end. I like Mike's team. I think a close second to Mike's would probably be FF Season 1. Love the Herbert Carr picks. Big on James Conner. He might not stay healthy, but he's going to get it all to start. So that's all we can hope for.
My only criticism with this one is you don't need a 4th quarterback. But
yeah, we took too many for sure.
We did.
But you're going to drop Mariota anyways, right? So Correct. You'll go get somebody. I love the wide receivers. I love Tyreek Hill, Bateman, Thielen, and Moore and Tony. Like 2 to 3 of those guys should absolutely smash for you.
Pop. Yeah.
And I think that's going to be really, really helpful in this league. So those are probably my 2.
Love it.
I really liked Lando's build. I haven't been taking a ton of Deebo Samuel, but I really like the Deebo Samuel, Trey Lance, kind of a cheap stack.
Yep.
If you're into Trey Lance, some people aren't. But I think the upside of Akers and Swift, that could be real nasty. So,
what about this glorious build here, Travy? What are your final thoughts on it?
Let's see. I didn't get to take a look at too much of your team. I love Daniel Jones. Probably too much. Like I'm ready to get hurt again. I love Daniel Jones. I think Daboll's great. I think his rushing upside's great. So I'm in on him as a late round quarterback. I'm not in as much on Mills. I love Mills. Like I love being like the guy that's like Mills over Mac Jones.
Sure.
But I don't love Mills for fantasy. But that's fine. I think he could if it's like a Scott Fishbowl, he's probably going to be good. Completion percentage could be good there. Love your running backs, obviously.
Yep.
I'm in on DJ Moore bump with Baker Mayfield. Love the wide receivers here. I think your team has work to do, but all teams do. And you got to figure out the Watson absence. Maybe you can get something. I think doubling up on maybe like who I'm trying to think who you'd get. I like Mitch Trubisky just for the rushing upside. I think Mitch could run a little bit in Pittsburgh. He's got to stay the starter, but that's who I'd kind of go with over Davis Mills. That's just me personally, and I did obviously go him there, but that would be your only weakness, the second quarterback for me.
Yeah, it all hinges on Deshaun Watson, to be completely honest.
Yeah. If Deshaun Watson gets 6 games, you're going to be probably in the playoffs and smoking fools.
Yeah. I like it. It's fun. This is why we do it.
Travy, we know you got to go, man.
Yeah. I appreciate you guys. This has been a lot of fun. Got to say what's up to the Snap Army. Appreciate all these guys in here.
Thanks for coming by. I know we got some Whisper Nation in the chat. Appreciate you guys coming in as well, supporting us, supporting Travy.
Always, man. We'll be in touch, man. And Mac, we'll see you this weekend, brother.
Yeah, you'll see me bright and early, right. 5 a.m.
I don't know how bright I'll be, but
it'll be bright on my end. It will be dark on your end.
The lights will be bright. The bags under my eyes will be very dark. Yeah.
All right, guys. Episode 207 in the books. Superflex mock draft and some draft strategies with our guy Big Travy from the Fantasy Whispers. Go ahead and check them out. Give Travy a follow and follow along for that mock draft marathon. It is entertaining. You guys will not be disappointed. We will see you next time.